All right, and welcome back to Beyond Belief with Bonnie Worth. Of course, that's me and my counterpart, Kjarlune Ray. We are sharing in
Yeah.
conversation about a really wonderful question. In part one,
Yeah.
we covered, I'm going to bring this question up again for us so we can continue this conversation that's
Love
come
it.
forward. When you are channeling messages, how are they, which is in quotation marks, communicating with you? I've heard people receive songs, images, smells, but how does it work for you, especially in differentiating between the experiences as a medium versus a clairvoyant?
Love it. Okay, so I'm going to get you, if it's okay with you,
Yeah,
why don't you answer the question first because you have it
yeah.
sitting in front of you, and then I'm going to ask you to do me a favor and redo the question because I just like I could go on 50 different tangents. Like,
I know exactly. Like
like Brandon, go next.
this one question, I'm telling you, this is what I'm loving about the questions that are coming
Yeah,
in, is because they're opening up to so many other
yeah.
facets
I
of what
know.
can
Like
be
I'm in every
talked about.
direction. So if
Right,
you want to answer the
exactly.
question first, then you answer it based on the medium. I'll answer
Yep.
it based on the clairvoyant, and then we can talk about the differences. Does that sound good?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to say first and foremost, as a medium, yes, absolutely. We have to pay attention to everything that's going on. In fact, one of the foundational pieces that I teach in my level one program is when we are creating the link to communicate to the other side, that the moment we establish the link and connection, everything becomes something, which means everything we are experiencing internally and externally, everything that's going on within us. So our aches, our pains,
Yeah.
the memories, the thoughts, the ideas, the hummings, the buzzings, the emotion that's stirring, the smells we're smelling, the taste that we're having. Everything is something to pay attention to because in that moment, when that link is established, that is spirit communicating with us. So we have to get the ego out of the way and just go, okay, I set the intention for this. This is happening. The link's been established. And so I need to be very aware at translating this as a conversation, and it's no longer about me. And so then so it becomes, spirit will also use, our own memories, our own
Yeah.
biases, our own intellect in which to relay the messages. And so it really becomes being really keen at observing and taking and being aware of everything that's happening internally. But they also use our external environment as well too, so it's paying
Right.
attention. Am I being touched? Do I feel a hand on my shoulder? Do I feel a breeze in the room? Is the clock ticking really, really loud? Is there a car horn that I'm hearing out? What's going on? I have to be very aware of internal and external experiences. And then it's through all of those sensories that I begin to translate and bring forward that communication from the other side. And again, it can happen very quickly. It's happening simultaneously. And so it
Yeah.
really is, it can feel overwhelming. But the key in it, I have found where I really need to stay grounded and I need to take it in one aspect of a time. And I
Yeah.
always explain when we first go into receiving anything from the other side, we can consider it like an iceberg. A
Yeah.
minute we make the connection, it's just what is in right on top. It's one that's on top of the water. And then we have to look at going into the pathways and diving in and seeing where else an impression is going to take us. What's under the surface? What else are they trying to show? And we have to become participatory because this is, as I said in part one, it's like being on the phone with someone. You're
Yeah.
having a conversation. So there, people just expect spirit to deliver
Yeah.
everything and then just you're holding there and nothing's happening. We have to participate. We have to ask questions.
Yeah.
Have to ask them for more information. And then we've got to pay attention to what they are transmitting. So it really is, again, just moving in and understanding that spirit is using every single way in which to communicate. And our job is to pay attention to everything. Our job is to know that immediately when that link has been established, everything is something, everything is communication, everything is valuable. Even if it doesn't make sense to us, it's valuable and important for the person we're doing the reading for.
Love that. Love that. Now here's where it gets wild because I've never had that description of a medium. And so people are about to discover that a clairvoyant does the exact same thing. We only use one different tool. We only use one different tool. Okay. So when I'm in a session, whether I'm connecting to people that are passed on or I'm just focusing on them, in order for me to start getting information, I actually take on the person. Okay. So
Mm.
I
Mhm.
actually, it's like I've got a fiber optic cord and I attach it to them. And
Mhm.
everything that I see is through them. Everything that I hear, every sense that I have is theirs. So everything else in my life or in my around me, it's completely gone. I cannot feel it. I cannot sense it. I cannot understand it. It's like the easiest way, I guess, for me to describe it is like I create a bubble between me and that person, and I
Yeah.
can feel the energy pushing on the bubble. Like if somebody was pushing on the bubble, I can feel them moving us a little bit, but they can't get in. So it's all like I'm in a closed, soundproof room, and they're screaming and making really loud noise on the outside, and all I'm hearing it is a faint hum. However, I am hearing, seeing, and feeling everything the person I'm doing the session for is seeing, feeling, and hearing. And I'm picking up on all of those senses at the same time that it's like their life fiber optics right into me. So it goes onto a screen in my brain and it
Yeah.
happens really, really fast. And I just get these little highlights and I just pull out these little highlights. And then when someone from the other side is coming through and they want to talk to their loved one, they'll start to represent themselves or pop up really, really often on this highlight reel that I'm seeing,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they'll get highlighted. So it's like in my brain, I just pull them out and put them over here. It's like I'm playing a chess game, right? So I just pull them out and I put them over here. And then I just keep doing that. And because there's so many of them, like, oh, okay, your dad's here. And
Right.
then I can feel him, right? I have
Okay.
to see things before I can feel or hear things. If I don't
Interesting.
see it in that screen, it doesn't exist.
Yeah. And it's really interesting because when I sit down, and again, it's the same but different because you
Yeah.
talk about how you're connecting with the person and
Yeah. You
everything is
got to
about
link the
them.
energy.
Right. You're linking the energy, but we're linking the energy to spirit as mediums. And what we do is we create an energetic room, an expansion of an energetic space for
Yeah.
spirit to step in. So they're coming into the space that's being created, but
Yeah.
I'm linked to spirit, not to the person.
See, and I'm
Interesting.
linked to the person, not the
Not the
spirit. So
spirit.
you link to the
Yeah.
spirit, which is the energy force that is around them, and
Yeah.
I link right to the soul, which is literally in their solar
Right.
plex, right?
Right.
And that's where, and to me that's really cool because I've never understood that. I
Yeah.
just know what I can do, right?
Right. Right.
But it also explains why I get so overwhelmed
Mm.
when, because I have experienced going into a room that is a spirit room and people coming in, right? But it overwhelms me and I turn around and walk out of the room right away because it's not where my strength is, right?
Right. Right.
If
I feel like I live in a spirit room all the time. So like
Right. Whereas I feel like I live in the universe all the time. And,
right.
when you think of a soul, like the one thing so when you think of a soul, I think the easiest way that I could probably describe it is those orbs that you used to see in pictures that everybody
Oh
used to
yeah.
think was because your pictures weren't developed properly.
Right.
Which I asked someone to explain that to me when they showed me a picture from their iPhone. They're like, well, it just wasn't developed properly. I'm like, did you take it off this? Like, did you take it on your camera on the phone? They're like, yeah. I'm like, there's no developing. You don't,
Right.
nothing gets developed. It's
Just,
on your
it just,
phone.
if anything, it shows their age because we
It's
used to
called
have to.
digital.
We used to
It's
have to send it in and develop. Not anymore.
digital. But no, they're like, that's not developing. I'm like, no, those are spirits. Anyway,
Exactly.
the things we try to talk ourselves out of, right? So, but
Yeah.
those orbs that you see in the
Yes.
pictures, right?
Yes.
That is exactly how souls represent themselves. And I spend most of my time in the universe, right? So,
Yes.
you know how uh, uh, other people, when they're in a room, okay, when they go into a room, they notice the things in the room, right? So they notice let's say you're going into a dining room table, into a dining room. So you notice the dining room table, you notice kind of chairs they have, you know what their centerpiece is, you look around at pictures, okay? You're assessing the room, right? When I walk into a room, I'm looking for globes. I don't notice anything
Yeah.
until I see globes,
Yeah.
right? And people laugh at me, but it's like the globe goes over to the picture and makes the picture brighter, which is why I can see the picture. But like even though I'm physically here, on
Yeah.
earth, and all of these things, I can knock them, I can touch them, I can open them. It's the orbs that I'm always looking for.
Right. Right. And when I walk into a room, it's not the orbs so much. I mean, you're looking at the orbs of the individuals who are also in the room, but for me immediately, my senses are picking up all the spirits that are in that room, and I need to focus and concentrate on the people who are talking to me, the physical
Yeah.
people, because I can get very lost in the non-physical world in those moments. So I have to, right? So it's like I'm completely in my spirit room. When I walk in, I'm in the spirit room, and it's like everybody's loved ones want to talk with me. I'm on an airplane, and I'm sitting down on an airplane going on vacation, and I almost like stood up one point. I'm like, I just need to do a big reading here on the
Right.
airplane because everybody's loved ones won't stop talking to me. Like everywhere I go, I'm in
It
a
is so
spirit room.
overwhelming.
It's
Yeah.
overwhelming. So
See, and
again,
I'm surrounded by
obviously,
orbs. You're in a
right.
room and I'm surrounded by
Yes,
orbs. And the things that people don't understand is those spirits that you're surrounding, they're the same orbs. They're orbs to me. They're
yes,
spirits for you. They're orbs to me because
yeah,
everything I pick up on is visual. So I
right.
have to visually see them,
Yeah,
right? So they're like iridescent orbs. And I know that those are spirits. But the only way that I can connect to them is if they go and attach themselves. And the reason I'm looking for them is that as soon as somebody walks in the room, no matter
yeah.
who it is, I will attach to that person, because then
Mhm.
anybody that wants to talk can go to that person and attach to that person, and then I can hear them and see them
Right,
because they're
right,
attached to the person, right? So I'm connected to the individual, and
right.
you're connected to the entire spirit connection of them.
Exactly. So there's a blending that takes place.
Yeah.
What's called an auric blend. So we're blending in terms of the my aura with the sitter's aura, and we're blending with and creating the spirit room. The spirit room is always there. And when I walk in, I can feel like it almost feels like the room is closing in on me, and I'm like, oh, here we go, right? Because I can just feel what is the I don't want to say pressure, but it's like all of a sudden everybody wants to
Yeah.
talk to me. Everything's coming at me. So I have to really, of course, my boundaries are super important. I've got some really, cool, good techniques in which to counteract that. But at a
Yeah.
time, it used to be incredibly overwhelming where I just really wanted to stay home and not go anywhere and just live in my own little world because it was easier. People always say it's, empaths will say, oh, it's too peoply out there. They can't and I'm like, oh, there's too many spirits, because every single person, there can
100%.
be 10 spirits with that one person.
100%. See, and for me, I get everywhere I go, I find a connection I like. So I find a soul that I can feel connected to, and I latch myself onto that soul. I can be in a room of 1,000 people. I latch myself onto that soul. And as soon as I do that, as much as I'm existing here, and I am,
Yeah.
it's not as overwhelming. It's still crazy overwhelming, but it's not as overwhelming because when I go into an environment, so when you go into an environment, you're hearing sort of the nattering of all those souls, right?
Mhm.
When I go into the environment, I'm hearing everything they've experienced in their lives. I'm hearing all of their pain, all of their overwhelmed. I can feel the loved ones that
Mhm.
are sort of healing those parts of them, right?
Yes.
So it's just as overwhelming. And I tell people all the time, like my very favorite place on this planet is Vegas, which
I love Vegas.
nobody can understand because
I
I mean,
love
other than I'm
Vegas.
a gambler, right? Other than I'm a gambler, nobody can understand why I love Vegas. I can gamble anywhere. That's not actually why I love Vegas.
Vegas is the most haunted city ever. It is so cool. I
It
don't
is, but it
like it.
makes it the quietest place on earth
Yes, I
because
get
I'm
that too.
overloaded. As soon as I
Yeah.
get off the plane, my husband, the first time we went, my husband just laughed at me because everywhere we go, man, I'm like, squirrel, my attention's over here, and I've locked onto somebody over here, and then I've done over here. And by the time we get to a hotel, he's like, have you just done like 50 readings? I'm like, oh my God, yeah, I'm so tired. So right? Like he's laying me down in bed to have a nap before I can go for dinner because I'm like, oh, I'm so glad I didn't have to open my mouth, which is the other problem because I do an entire, like, that's the thing, right? So there's 500 people in that room. I've done 500 readings in an hour. Like, if I don't lock
Wow.
on to one person,
Yeah,
I've
it's all
seen
happening.
their
Yes.
entire lives all at once, right? Whereas in
Yeah.
Vegas, everything, it's like I get off the plane and the energy, the vibration of Vegas is so intense that my brain just goes, stop. And I shut off. I just shut off
Wow. Wow.
completely, right?
Wow.
And I will purposely, like, we'll be walking down the street and I will purposely zone in on someone. I'm like, ah, that's what everybody else feels. I got nothing.
Amazing.
I got nothing. Like, I cannot
Yes.
tap in, which means it's the only place on earth that I can laugh and joke without doing readings, couldn't tell you a thing about a person sitting near me. Oh my God, I need to always play my poker in Vegas. How did I not become a
Say,
psychic?
why are you not living in Vegas then? You see what the universe has been trying to show you something here, my friend.
See, the problem is I'll move to Vegas, I'll get used to their energy, which means it'll just be even more overwhelming. Right? Like, I just register I'm an idiot, and that's the only place that I should be playing poker because no wonder I do so well when I'm in Vegas. I can't pick up anybody's stuff. Jesus.
Yeah,
Because it's
yeah.
because I can't, right?
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
I even, it was funny story just about Vegas for a second. I went to a psychic with my girlfriend in Vegas. We just thought it would be fun. And she did a great job. She really did a great, like,
Yeah.
for being that exactly what I am insulted by in our industry people do as psychics, with the colorful fabrics and crystal ball and dangling hair,
The gypsy look that they
yeah,
have,
it
the
drives
long
me
nails, all the
drives me so
jewels. Yeah.
crazy. But can you say gypsy to me in just a second? Because I have a fun story for you.
Yeah.
Anyway, we go into this reading. She did a really good job, and I finally looked at her. I'm like, "How are you doing this?" And she looked at me. She's like, "Oh no, it's called being psychic." And I looked at her. I'm like, "Okay, well, you've just sat with me for 15 minutes. You think you need to explain to me what a fucking psychic is?" Right.
Right.
And she's like, "No, no, 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 I didn't. I'm so used to right." She registered who
Yeah.
she was like. It's like
Yes.
you can't sit with
Yes.
me for 15 minutes and not know what I can do. Like, come on,
Right.
dude. Okay.
Right.
But anyway, she's like, "No, it's I'm so used to the energy because I'm like I can't read anybody."
Mhm.
And it took her till I asked the question for her to figure out that I was intuitive too, because I'm
Amazing.
so shut off.
Yeah. Right.
So shut
Right.
off.
Amazing.
Yeah. Oh, right. But
Okay.
Gypsy,
Oh,
right?
gypsy. I was
So,
just gonna
story,
say
super
gypsy.
story.
Okay.
Um, most of us don't pay attention to things in life, but I should have discovered what I was going to do for the rest of my life by the time I was about 5, because I have been a gypsy. I was a gypsy and fortune teller every Halloween from the time I was 5 years old till the time I was 13.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Isn't that funny? And when my mom used to always call me her little Hungarian gypsy because I was always in the bangles and the dresses and the whatever and the magic of it. I mean, there it is, right?
I remember I had this gorgeous office. I had this gorgeous office and store years ago on 17th Avenue in Calgary, and I made such a point of making sure that it looked classy and nothing psychic whatsoever. Like,
Right.
it was a complete new age store, and there was a clairvoyant who owned it and did her sessions. But I made like sure, okay, we're talking warm colors. I wouldn't even allow things to be like bright and
Yeah.
oh, like there's just no way you'd have walked in the door and known anything mystical whatsoever. So I get a call to do an interview for the Calgary Sun, so for abused women. So I have them come over and do the interview, and I was so upset. I was so devastated because in the article they described my office as a little fortune telling room in the back of a dark store. I was so upset. Like, oh my God, you just made me sound like every other psychic on the planet.
Right? I used to get so offended by it too. I remember the first time one of my dear friends, she's a phenomenal astrologer, and the very first time I met her, she would have did a reading for me, and she said to me, she goes, "Oh my gosh, Bonnie, like looking at your chart," she goes, "You are so psychic," and I'm like, "No, I'm not. I'm not a psychic. I'm a medium."
I
Right?
get totally insulted when people call me a psychic. They're like, "Oh, you're that psychic lady." I just
I'm like,
look at them.
I'm like, "No, I'm not. I'm a medium." I know, right?
I
It's
finally
like,
got to the point where I looked at them going, "No, no, no, you're confused. I'm psychotic. Different.
yeah,
Different."
I had one of my clients say to me the other day, just again, here we are on a tangent, but one of my clients said to me the other day, she said, "No wonder people think all of this stuff is weird. Some of the things that we do, some of the things that are out there, some of the ways that people are showing up, no wonder it gives it puts a bad
I
taste in
know.
people's mouth and they expect it to be woo woo because we're showing up. There's a lot of people showing up that way, right?" She's like, "No wonder they think they don't believe in it." She's.
So, and this is could be a total other topic, and we might actually
Yep.
pause this and turn this into part 3. That'll be up to you. But
Yep.
I think it's one of the reasons that I have such an easy time with everything that's going on in the world right now,
Mm.
with all of the judging and all of the opinionating and all of the because I have lived an entire life of being in an industry,
Right.
because unlike most people, this is the only thing I've been able to do. I desperately wanted to be a lawyer. I couldn't survive the world without doing readings. And
Yeah.
so I mean, in one breath, that made me very lucky because I didn't have to try to figure this out. It was just
Right.
what it was, which is great. But with everything that's going on, like with the transgender communities and with the LGBT and with the Me Too movements and with all of these things, everybody's talking, and they're also, people are so frustrated and so overwhelmed, and they're not
Yes.
understanding that, in everything in life there is good and bad, right?
Yeah.
And so there's, bad transgenders, great transgenders,
Right.
bad alphabets, great alphabets, right?
Yes.
Bad intuitives, great intuitives. Like, I'm so used to that I don't create any judgment when I hear things, right? Like,
Right.
I don't immediately go to, everybody's so good at putting anyone who might fit that like who might fit a description into a category.
Hmm.
And that is one of the things that it just doesn't, I'm never putting anything into a category because I'm so used to
Hmm.
being in an environment that people don't understand.
Right.
Right. So it never actually phases me. Like, I never see, one person do something and think, oh, that's all. One
Yeah.
journalist does this, so all journalists do this. One police officer
Right.
does this, so all police officers do this. Do you know what I mean?
Right. Well, and I think that even falls within the umbrella when we can look at in terms of mediumship and for what represents and is. People have, and part of my training and my programs and things I talk about is it's more than just talking to dead people. There's so much
Mhm.
more to it, but it's the only thing that people understand about it, right? Again, I'm just used to it. Did I always love being a medium? No, no, I
You
denied
know
it.
what
I
I'd love to
resisted it.
do?
I
How would you
Yes,
feel if we did part 3
I think we need to do
all
part
about,
three.
we do. And how about if we do it all about what we enjoy and don't enjoy about what we have the ability to do?
Oh my God, I love
Does that
that.
sound like fun?
That sounds like fun. That could be,
Oh,
that we could really go on tangents there. Okay,
we really can.
tune in everybody for part 3. Here it comes.